All right. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. It's a Space Corps podcast. It must be Friday night, baby. It's your boy Stoney coming to you live from the TCM Museum of Minnesota. I am extremely jacked up and excited for this episode tonight. Number 35, baby. We just going strong. We got coming to you live every single Friday night, 9:30 p.m. Central Time, kicking it. You know how we do, coming to live from Facebook. If you can't hop in on the live, uploading this over to the YouTube page and all that. So make sure you like, subscribe, all that stuff to all the channels so you don't miss out on any of this good stuff because it just keeps getting better and growing, baby. You know how it's going. So I hope everybody's doing fantastic on a Friday night. We're kicking off the weekend right. I've been just busy as shit with some good home projects, man. So I'm just feeling good and feeling accomplished, and I'm really excited to bring you tonight's show. So first things first, let's run through the ads real quick. Half Moon Designs, that's our Queen Bee and McDonald right now. You know what's going on with that. If you go and you use the promo code Space Corps at checkout, you get 10% off your entire order. Kick ass. If anybody knows Ann, she makes the most quality, baller, beautiful stuff. I don't even really need to even say anything by this point now. I mean, she is viral on TikTok with the burrito wallets. She's sitting there winning awards every time she's entering into whatever kind of contest and what the fuck ever she's got going on. So you guys know what it is, man. So if you're buying some more shit from Half Moon, make sure you use that promo code right there too. It's going to get you some money off. If you're still feeling like you don't have just enough, swagger and stuff for yourself, man, hit up the podcast merch store. So Space Corps podcast. We got Stoney's TCM Museum of Minnesota shit and all the other goofball stuff. So all I'm going to say with that plug, if you do buy something, and I appreciate the shit out of everybody that has bought some stuff already, any of that money gets rolled over back into the podcast so I can get fucking better headphones, microphones, video cameras, all that stuff. So that's about all I got to say about that. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited tonight. We've got, I'm going to say, like the most fucking baller guest we've had on the podcast yet. Sorry, all the homies that I want to be at for. But, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we've got Ernst Harth in the house. How you doing, my brother? Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can hear you. How you doing? Great.
Awesome. Thanks for being on, man. This is awesome, dude.
Yeah, no problem. I put out a call. I said to the fans, let me know the shows you want to see me on. And this was one of the ones. So I got in touch with you, and here I am. Dude,
killer, man. Shout out to everybody that even made that suggestion, which is just cool. This is just a goofy thing I do, right? And it's just fun. Like, there's no hopes and aspirations of like, this is going to be like the horror podcast or whatever. But you know what? It's something consistent I've been doing every weekend. I'm an avid horror collector. Obviously, we were talking a little bit ago. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is my big thing. And I just love it, man. And just kind of keeping the love and the passion alive by doing this. And it's kind of unique compared to like what everybody else seems to be doing. So here I am, man. And now I'm talking to like you. This is awesome, Ernst. This is incredible. So yeah,
I'm talking to you. So there you go.
This is killer. We got a bunch of people that are already watching here, so I'll be kind of jumping in on the comments here and there. If anybody's got questions for this man, I was brushing up on some of your IMDB profile. You have like one hell of a resume. I mean, my God, you've been doing this for a long time, so it's just awesome. I mean,
whether you're 4, 44, or 84, you've seen me in something.
That's so cool, man. So we were chatting a little bit ago. So you're up in Canada then. You're just a little bit further up than I am, which usually I'm the northerner here in this show.
Yeah, Vancouver, British Columbia.
That's awesome.
They like to think of themselves Hollywood North.
Is that it? A little bit of chip on their shoulder when they're up there. So we actually, I mean, when I say I refer to this a lot, but there's a lot of online horror community collectibles and stuff, but a lot of us that all kind of revolve around, it's a small group, I'd say, of a good, couple of 100 to 1,000 people that are spread between a bunch of different groups. But we've got a lot of people up in Canada that are collectors and do a lot of this stuff. So you guys are taking over, which is awesome, man. I love to see it.
Well, what I've learned in the last couple years, getting in touch with a lot of the horror groups and the horror community, especially through Facebook and Facebook groups,
yeah,
is that there's no border, there's no boundaries. The love of horror is international. When I'm getting requests for signed photos from the Ukraine
yeah,
and they're in the middle of a war, it just blows my mind that they're in the middle of a war, but someone still wants to get a signed autograph of a great child.
Well, I mean, that's gotta. If you just think about that, I mean, it's just like that's got to mean so much to that person or those people there. I mean, I couldn't even imagine or fathom what the day-to-day life is over there, how terrifying all that. And it's like, you still got to try to find a little piece of quiet and like enjoyment, even when things are that extreme. So just for the fact, like, I mean, how cool is it with the internet where we're able to reach out and meet you and all this? I mean, we're lucky that cons, and all the conventions exist, so there was that opportunity. But this is so much more personal and direct. I mean, especially for people that aren't in the areas of, the big cities where these go on at, it's awesome.
And what I've noticed and what I've mentioned before in a few other interviews is that, especially with horror, because the fans know everything about their favorite films. And what I've noticed is that, everybody that's in a specific film is famous to somebody, even if that's the only film you've ever done and you weren't even really an actor to be with. You just, played a role in some film for 2 hours.
Yeah.
For the rest of your life, you're famous to the people who love that movie and love every character in that movie. I've noticed that more and more with, I did a little one day's work on Trick or Treat as a cameo, playing Anna Paquin's boyfriend, basically a blind date at the fire at the party on Trick or Treat, and I didn't think anything of it. And then, people started realizing the Easter egg of it all, the fact that the great child is now playing the giant baby. These are both Warner Brother horror films.
Yeah.
Like anybody who knows their films knows, wait a second, there's something up here. And it just adds it adds flavor to the films, and especially the fans who know everything about their films. It just adds other levels that they can talk about and point out and find with all these different horror groups and everything. And it's just taken over. It blows me away that there's so much joy to be found in sheer horror.
Yeah, right?
So much of a community has been built over, people getting eviscerated.
That's it. Like, just the gore and the trauma just brings out the best in all of us,
Well, it's because I think people need a release. The people
Absolutely.
who aren't into these type of films are the most highly strung people who just need to pull the stick out.
Yes.
They just watch some horror movies.
Yes.
Instead of, running into a mall with a shotgun, just
right.
watch some horror movies and let that be the release in your life.
Exactly. At least give that a shot first, for God's sakes,
But yeah, it's crazy how you to some people these are the most horrible, horrific type films, and then to the people who love them, it gives them so much joy.
Yeah. And it's funny on like things like that. So like an anecdote with that, with like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. There's one of the remake movie that was popular in 2003 that came out was played. Leatherface was played by a gentleman by the name of Andrew Bernarski, and he's controversial because he's quite a hot mess nowadays. He's at these conventions, kind of coked up or drunk or picking fights with people. And he's kind of said some awful things before about the original Leatherface Gunnar Hansen, who passed away. He was in some kind of controversy of like some kind of like animal abuse, which turned out to not be true. But he's not. He doesn't seem like a great guy, and everybody is or not everybody, but just the majority of people go, I can't believe you'd even go get an autograph from that guy. I can't believe you'd do this. And to me, I think it's so funny because I'm like, okay, this guy played a killer. And all of a sudden, we're trying to hold him to like this standard, like he's supposed to be this perfect person. Like, I mean, I don't wish anybody to be abusive to animals or anything like this, but for God's sakes, I kind of like them to be a little bit crazy and dangerous and stuff like that.
for the most part, it's the character that people
Yeah,
love. It's not like you need to know every inch of this guy's life.
exactly.
You're more into the fact that I love this character, and this guy just happened to play this character, so
Right,
that makes me one step closer to this character. But it's not like you're expected to vote for the guy.
right.
You
So,
know,
being up in Canada, then have you been to many conventions or anything like that, doing signings and meeting fans, or are you kind of limited up there?
uh, I haven't been invited to any Canadian ones, even the one like in Niagara Falls and stuff that people keep. And that's the thing that's so frustrating. It's like, yes, I have a personal appearance agent, and yes, we're trying to put the word out to all these shows, but it's frustrating when you have fans, and sometimes it's in the dozens over a period of time that are saying, you got to come to this festival, you got to come to this festival.
Yeah.
And I keep wanting to say, well, you're talking to the wrong person,
Yeah,
because I
right.
want to go to that festival too. Talk to the festival, tell the
Yeah.
people that everyone keeps telling me, so it'd be so awesome to see a 13 Ghosts reunion, to see the ghosts, all the
Oh,
20 ghosts
yeah.
possible get together. And it's like, well, most of these people I haven't seen in 24 years, so I'm the wrong person to talk to. But
Sure.
somebody can get this together, and but I'm not the person to talk to. I like hearing it, but then
Sure.
I get frustrated because I have nothing I can do about it. It's like I'll
Yeah.
show up wherever, and because I haven't been able to do that many shows, I had set up some shows in the States, but I turns out you got to get your paperwork in order before you can set up these shows. So now I'm dealing with that before I can commit
Oh,
to anything.
sure.
But in the meantime, I'm able to do some shows in Canada. So if there's any Canadian fans out there that want to see the Great Child, or the Giant
Yes.
Baby, or Bonzo the Killer Clown, or any of the other insane characters I've played at their convention, uh, let them know that I'm out here and I'm available. And also, if you can't see me at a show, you can still contact me on my Facebook page, because I have all my convention photos available, and I'll personally sign them and send them to you. It's $30, and shipping's included, and
Wow,
you
that's
know,
awesome.
yeah, and that's $30 Canadian. So I'm talking like that's like $22 there.
Yeah, for now maybe, right? We'll see how it all goes. But wow, that's wild, man. I mean, like I said, we got some people even in right now watching. I mean, our buddy Brian Clancy, he goes by Moose Lodge Horrors. He's one of the big top dogs up there. That's always going to their conventions and stuff. So I'm sure that it's pretty, the network is really great, right? I mean, especially
Yeah,
we've got a convention down here in Minneapolis, and, just, attending it a few times, but then just finding the people that put it on. I mean, the suggestions, they're very attentive to what the people want. I mean, obviously there's a budget, and there's
yeah,
availability and stuff like that, but, you don't want to put on the same convention year after year with the same handful of guests. So, you
yeah.
know,
So you pay for my flight and my hotel. Yeah, that's it. I
right?
got no minimums. Just I sell my photos for $30, and I'm happy to see you. And let's take a photo. And hey, how you doing?
Yeah. I got to think that's got to be such a without I mean I don't want to sound like full of myself, but I would really enjoy that. I think for a weekend, like, hey, fly me out somewhere, and all these people want to hang out and just take pictures with you and stuff. Like, shit, why not? And you pocket some cash while you're doing it. That sounds awesome. You know.
You know, to me, the best way to explain what that feels like and what that's like, just I've been this last year,
Yeah.
since I had to cancel the conventions that I had set up, and I've been off. I did some private signings for some collectible stores, and I also have on my Facebook page, you can find my address. I take mail-ins for posters and photos and DVDs and books and whatever else you want signed.
Cool.
And I got about 100 different things I've been attached to. So
That's
that's all
awesome.
on my Facebook page, CE Harth. So it's easy to find. there's only one C Ernst Harth, so
Yes, yeah, the one and only. Well, I'll absolutely, when I upload this up to the YouTube and stuff too, in the bio there, I definitely like to, give the links and everything to how people can get in touch with you and everything, and just pass along the good words. So
and
that's
I'm a collector myself. I have my wall of DVDs. I have my section of laser discs. I have my VHSs,
cool.
and then I have a bookshelf in the bedroom that consists of nothing but movies I'm in. So I don't know. Okay, no, maybe most people don't have that bookshelf, but I was joking to someone in an interview a couple of weeks ago. I'm old enough that I have laser discs with me in them. So
that's sweet. That's awesome.
I I bought all that, so I collect all that stuff, and I've gotten a few things autographed over the years. Even when I worked with somebody, I remember when I worked with Victor Garber on an episode of Legends of Tomorrow. I was the first one there bringing my Godspell DVD. It's like, excuse me, Mr. Garber.
Yeah.
The only thing is, it's you have to pick your moments, because you're not dealing with a celebrity per se. You're dealing with another guy at work.
Yeah, right, right.
So you gotta find, and usually I find that it helps if you wait until after you've actually done your scenes together.
Sure. Yeah,
So
you prove your worth a little bit, right?
Yeah, and you have a bit of a relationship. The last thing you want to do is, before you've even started your scene as co-partners in this scene, is to go, oh, excuse me, can I have your autograph?
Yeah, just annoyed now. Okay, great. Like.
And I've only done that a handful of times, because I, there's a certain level of loyalty and a certain level of professionalism that when you're on set, there's no famous people. There's just a bunch of actors and a bunch of crew, and everyone's there to have fun and do their job.
Sure.
Occasionally you have the odd diva that gets thrown in the mix, but you can rest assured that whenever they're not on set, that's what everyone's talking about.
Yeah, I bet. I would always assume that the diva's got to be a little more common in that industry than others. I mean, but
and what you'd be surprised with is, time and time again, the biggest divas are the ones that have one or two credits, and they just the first or second thing out of the gate just shot off and made them famous.
Yeah.
And those are usually the people with the biggest attitude, and the people who are the most down to earth, and the people who are the nicest and friendliest to be around, like Matthew Lillard, for example.
Sure.
Are people that have an entire resume down their arm of stuff they've been doing for 20, 30, 40, 50 years sometimes. Those are the people that you can sit and have a one-on-one conversation with and just chill out and everything. The people who just they almost have a sense of, like, they need to prove themselves. They feel like, this is how I prove myself, is by getting everyone to fear me or to look up to me or to think I'm hot shit.
Yep.
But the reality is, 2 minutes ago, nobody knew who you were, and probably 2 minutes from now, nobody's going to know who you are.
Exactly.
So your moment.
Right. Yeah.
Just know that everyone's talking about you when you're not around.
That's it. Yeah, you can spike for a second, but you got to let the talent actually carry you along where you're sustainable. And then we'll talk. So.
Yeah, and part of that is treating everybody on crew as equals. You're all human beings. You're all punching in the card at the beginning of the shift.
Yeah.
You're no better than anyone else. You might have a big trailer to go to, and they have a chair in the corner if they're lucky, but you're all still members of the crew.
Sure.
It's the people who, and I think the people who have been filmmakers and the people who have produced films and have done their own thing and have been crew members themselves, I think they have the biggest understanding of that. They know that we're all one big family. And there's something to be said about a film crew, a film set, versus other jobs, because you have a bunch of strangers that come together for anywhere from 8 days to 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you're in the trenches for that entire time that you're together. You're closer than you are with your family for that amount of time. You trust these people, and you all have the same goal. You all have the same focus, which is to make this the best movie, regardless of what department you're in. Everyone has got the same, and there's something about being in that headspace and being in that kind of surrounding where, it's like no matter where you are in life, everyone's got their own shit they're dealing with. And even when you're at most jobs, everyone's in their own head, or they've got, their task, and everyone has their own little thing. But on a film set, it's like every single person is working towards the same goal. And there's a sense of, beyond community, it's like a sense of family. And that's why it's always like a life of constant divorce, because you get so close with these people that were strangers before you started most of the time.
Yeah.
The longer you're in the business, more and more people. I've been doing this 35 years now. Most of the time now, there isn't a film that I work on where I don't know somebody that I've worked with many times before. But, you get so close with these people, and you think, when you first start in this business, you think, we're going to be friends forever.
Yeah, right.
And then the day everyone yells rap, chances are you might see a few people here and there. And now with social media, the funny thing is, these people who you work with sometimes for 1 or 2 days of your life, I got a Facebook page, I got Instagram. And now these people who you knew for 6 hours of your life, now for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I know Bob in Montana. He's got this new daughter. And it's like, if it wasn't for social media, you wouldn't remember these people usually a week after you worked with them.
Let alone know some really personal details about what's going on in their life currently. It's just like, I haven't seen them.
Someone that you worked with for a day 18 years ago.
Yeah.
How's that rash going?
Yeah. I went to whatever 10-year high school reunion or something, whatever it was. And, and it was kind of like, oh, this is exciting, just kind of, for what you've always seen visually represented as just like in the movies of reunions and stuff, and then, but when we got there, it was weird. It was just like everybody already knew what everybody was up to. So it wasn't that like, hey, how's it been over the last, no, everybody knows it. Hey, everybody knew I just had my baby. Your daughter's so cute. And I was just like, what are we doing here then? This is like, it doesn't even, there's no point to this. It was really weird.
Couldn't we have all just sent each other a wave on
Facebook? I mean, or gotten like a group video call or something. And the weirdest thing about it is that, when we were coming up on that 10-year, I called my high school to say, hey, I've moved around a little bit, so maybe you don't have my mailing address. Like, I want to make sure I'm getting contacted for this. And they go, oh, we don't do that anymore. The schools are no longer responsible for putting on these things. It's actually up to you and your class to take, the initiative to rent out like a conference center somewhere or whatever. So it was so weird. It was like the wind was taken out of the sails on just the idea of what I thought that was going to be. And then we were all like, and then we were all at a bar, and that was just the weirdest part. It was like a bar pizza restaurant, and and you're just talking to people
you barely wanted to know 10 years ago.
I think I was there for 30 minutes, and I said, I'm out of here. I got, my wife's at home, my kid's at home. I said, I've seen enough here.
Yeah,
we're good.
I remember getting together with a bunch of people that I had worked with like 20 years earlier. And everybody was telling stories, and everybody was laughing and having all of these high fives. And I'm sitting there thinking, I barely remember you people. It's like they're telling all these stories with such detail 20 years ago.
Jeez.
And I'm like, I think I remember your name. And I don't know if it. My wife always says every time I say like I don't remember a roommate's name or somebody I don't. I'm constantly running into people that I don't know, and she says that two things. One, she says you're constantly erasing your head, so you got room to shove all this new dialogue from every project you worked in. So it's like you're freeing up room. It's like, do I need to know this? I don't need to know this. Get rid of it.
Yeah,
and so that's part of it. And the other thing is, I never know when I run into someone. Now, do I know them, or is that and I just don't remember them?
Yeah, or do
Or
they just know you?
do they know me? I mean, I remember sitting outside at a patio having coffee, and the city bus in the middle of the street, the city bus just stopped, and the doors open on the bus, and the driver goes, "Pancake!"
Ah,
Because of my Say It Isn't So, the Fairley Brothers film I did. And, you know, that's cool,
yeah.
but at least I know right away where I know that guy from.
Right, right.
When people stop and say hi, and then I realize that, okay, both things are true. I don't remember most people from my life, and I think big reason why is because I like my wife said, I'm constantly erasing my brain to put all this new scripts and all this new information in my head.
Sure.
But also, when I'm on set, I have 100 people looking at me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the scene. I'm doing my thing. But while I'm doing my thing, I have 100 people watching me doing my thing. And it's like they have a much bigger chance of the day to watch me, look at me, remember me, whereas I might pass them as I'm going to my trailer or going to my chair or going to craft service or something. And it's not that, we're not equals. It's just that I didn't spend much time with
Well, sure.
I spend most of my time I spend with my makeup people, my costume people, and the people I'm sharing the scene with or the director.
Mm-hmm.
But the amount of crew members that remember me that I have no sense of who they are.
Yeah.
And I just have to remember to put on. That's where your acting ability kicks in, when you have to just go, hey. So if what you're hearing now sounds familiar and you've ever run into me on the street, I don't know who you are, but I'm sure we work together somewhere.
Either way, it's good to see you. It's good to see you again.
And if I don't know you, then you probably saw me in a movie or a TV show
right.
or something. So, I've had so many people are always like, people that know me from one or two things. Like, people know that I was the great child in 13 Ghosts, and that's because they love that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all they usually know. And then when I start listing other things I've been in, it's usually followed up with, "Oh, you were in that. Oh, and you were in that."
Yeah.
So when you mentioned you were on my IMDb earlier, you probably had a few of those.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's just, that's great. And again, just the positive side of like the internet, where this can all be, pinpointed and directed, instead of, like, how would you know a whole actor's, resume and history in the past,
Well, even when I was a kid, back in the 70s, when you go to see a movie, if you went, "Oh, who is that guy? That guy looks so familiar.
Yeah.
I know that face."
You can't look it up.
And then you see the credits, so then you look to see who the name of the character was, and you see who the actor was, and you're like, fine, now I got this information in my head, but there's nothing I can do with it.
Yeah.
I can maybe go to the library and find some sort of resource manual, like a Roger Ebert or a Leonard Maltin book where they talk about movies and stuff. But for the most part, there was never anything like IMDb, like an encyclopedia of character actors.
Yeah.
That's basically what IMDb became.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's where you can go look up your favorite celebrities. But for the most part, it's become like the encyclopedia of character actors.
Yeah.
And also for like indie movies and stuff. It's like, you saw some movie in the 80s on video, some horror movie that you saw. You don't remember even who was in the movie, but you remember the movie. But now with IMDb, boom, there it is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which has just made character actors and made actors and stuff like horror films and stuff just have a bigger outreach, because like with this podcast, with the Facebook groups, with social media all together, it's like before I was just a big lonely fat guy sitting in an apartment by myself and nobody knew nothing about me.
Well, I feel you there, and I haven't gotten any type of an exposure thing as you. So, how's it feel on the other side over there? Does it feel good to feel noticed?
The first time it really struck me was I was sitting in a theater, and I can't even remember what the movie was. It may have been even something as recent as the A-Team. But there was a moment where I was sitting in the theater, and on the screen was me and nobody but me. It was like a super close-up of just my head, my face, or something. And it hit me all of a sudden, sitting in the theater. It's like, how freaking bizarre is this? I'm in a room
Yeah.
with 400 other people, and we're looking at a picture that's 20 feet by 30 feet or whatever of me.
Yeah.
If you were like to freeze frame that moment, and it just all of a sudden hit me. It's like, 20 years into my career, just like, wow, that's weird.
Sure.
And reality is, 99% of the people in that room, when you leave, they're not going to remember that you were in the film, because there was no reason for them to remember you.
Yeah.
But somebody might recognize me in that film from another film, and now there's 2 or 3 connections in their head. They have a greater chance to remember. Those are usually the people I run into in the hallway afterwards in the movie theater.
Yeah.
They're the ones who remember me from something else, and then they see me in this, and then they watch the credits to see if it's the person they remember as the person that was in that other film.
Yeah, right.
And my name is mostly unknown, but it's unique enough that once you know it, it usually sticks with you.
Oh yeah.
There's not many people, with the C. Ernst Harth. Like, you have your C. Thomas Howell. It's like there's only so many people that have the first initial by itself.
Right. Yeah. I'm terrible with names, and it was like the first time we had talked, and I was just like, I was like, can I do it? No, it's such a memorable name. It's awesome.
And I get that I still, after 35 years, I get it at auditions and stuff. They refer to me as C, or C. Ernst, or Ernst, which is what I tell them to just call me Ernst.
Yeah.
But I'll go by anything as long as you're bringing me in the room.
Yeah.
I've called my agency a few times, and I've told them, "Hi, can I speak to my agent?" And they go, "Who is this?" I say, "It's Ernst," and they say, "Okay, I'll let her know Bruce is calling." What? Geez, glad I've made an impression over there.
Yeah. Jeez. So I got a couple questions here. We got from some people watching. So Chris is asking here. This will be a softball question here. He says, "Given your impressive filmography, what was the most fun that you've ever had on set?"
Oh, that's like a double-sided question. That's like a double-sided coin, because there's the fun you had in the movie, making the movie, on scene, in the stuff that you see in the film, the stuff that gets shot, and then there's the shit that happens offset, the stuff that when you're not working, when you're eating or off shift, where if you're on location, and the stuff that happens down in the city so I have so many versions of a good answer, and I've also produced a few features, so it's like I have memories of films I've worked on, independent films produced. But let me say, I'd say Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed was a hell of a lot of work, because I had 6.5 hours of makeup and then like 2 hours of wardrobe to get into every day.
Mm-hmm.
So
that
was like 8 hours of just getting into my stuff for the day before I even started the day.
Wow.
But just being in that world, it's like you grow up watching things like Scooby-Doo,
mm-hmm.
and then it's like you're going to work every day and you're going to be in Scooby-Doo, and you're working with the Mystery Machine and the Mystery Inc. And even though you don't see Scooby-Doo, I see his stand-in, which is a statue that they use to show us where he's going to be. And then I hear Neil Fanning doing his voice on set, so Scooby is still there, so I can imagine that. So there's that fun, and then you're not playing a wholly real person, you're playing an over-the-top caricature, because it's not even Minor 49er, it's the costume of the guy who pretended to be Minor 49er that has come alive. So you can create your own character out of that. And, that's when people say, well, why does Minor 49er breathe fire? What's that got to do with the original Minor 49er?
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the original Minor 49er. They just thought it was cool because in pre-production, when we were designing, they were designing all the other ghosts that were going to appear in the film, all the other monsters. They had one that was Redbeard's ghost, and Redbeard's ghost blew fire. So when they decided against that character, and the actor who had been hired to play him got wrapped, they went, well, we still like that gag of the fire. Okay, well, give it the minor 49er. But what's it got to do? It's a cool gag.
Yeah.
Whatever. It looks cool. So, just being able to play all that stuff out on set was a lot of fun. But at the same time, it was a lot of work.
Sure.
Then you get a film like The Barber, which was a murder mystery film that I did with Malcolm McDowell. And that was like a horror thriller type film. But it was the kind of film where, as an audience, from the very first scene of the film that the guy narrating the film, who's Malcolm McDowell, is the serial killer, and you're watching people discover his first murder in the opening scene of the film. So I like those kind of films, and so being on that film set and being working for 30 days on a film with Malcolm McDowell, who's got the history of Malcolm McDowell and all of the stories that he's ever told, and Clockwork Orange and all of the films, Caligula and all the films that he's worked on, my biggest fun on that film was after we were shooting. We would go out for dinner, and when you go out for dinner, there's all the stories and standing up and telling the old stories. And even though he doesn't drink anymore, it's still the same old drinking stories.
Sure. Oh yeah.
When he was drinking. So I have those memories. So everything I've worked on has, a moment that's the funnest thing. Something is right now is happening that has never happened on anything I've ever worked on. I can't believe it. It's blowing my mind. And it could even be something that you asked me that question 2 weeks later. I may have even forgot about that moment 2 weeks earlier. That moment was the greatest thing. I can't believe I'm on set. I can't believe, because there's all those moments after 35 years. There's still all those pinch yourself moments when, you can't believe that you're working with someone or you're hanging out with these people. Or the greatest thing is also, I remember the first time working on a film and the big famous actor knew my name when I walked by in the morning,
Yes.
It's one thing to go, ooh, you're so-and-so, but it's another thing when they go, morning, Ernst.
Yeah.
As they walk by, huh?
That's got to feel good.
I've worked with Tony Shalhoub a couple times. So it's like, the second time you've worked with somebody and even if it's just them remembering the last time you worked with them, that's a cool moment. So I've got that's all, like I said, that's why it's always such a hard answer. What's the funnest thing you've worked on?
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, those are the two examples that come to mind. One for all the time I spent offset with Malcolm McDowell. That was so much fun. And then Scooby-Doo 2, just getting to live in the world of Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
And then just to add to that, getting to do Scooby-Doo, The Mystery Begins, which was another Scooby-Doo film. So getting to go back into that Scooby-Doo world and getting to do that twice, I think I'm one of the only actors who's gotten to work with two versions of Mystery Inc. because Scooby-Doo Mystery Begins was the third live-action Scooby-Doo, which was for the Cartoon Network, which was when they went back to high school to show how the Mystery Inc. actually formed.
Okay, cool.
And how they found Scooby-Doo and how all that came together. So to get to be part of that and get to be with another Scooby-Doo and another Mystery Inc., and this time, instead of being one of the monsters, I get to play one of the characters who's like the red herring of the episode, because it's like they think I'm the evil guy, they think I'm the bad guy of the episode, but I'm actually, the guy who makes the audience look this way when they should have looked that way.
Sure, yep.
So, those are the moments when you give yourself your head a shake when you realize, wait a minute. So I got to live in Scooby-Doo land twice, and it's like I've done all of the Air Bud movies. I got to work with the Muppets. You got to give your head a shake. It's like the Air Bud and all the talking dog movies from Disney and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, you just got to stop and be like, wait a minute. look where I'm at right now. Like how cool, like you said, like you said, like I'm on a fucking Scooby-Doo movie right now. I'm like I watched that, like that's got to be so surreal, you know. And then
It's
just
like walking onto a set that costs more than anything that you've ever seen in
oh
your
sure,
life.
yeah,
You're like, there's more money spent in this studio space right now than I've ever seen in my. It's like being on
yeah,
13 Ghosts and walking into that glass house
yo,
with all of
sure,
the with all of the gears and it was actually operational. When you saw the walls moving and everything, they were
oh
actually
wow,
moving. It was like 2,500 panes of glass, and there was like 2 levels, and I mean, it was a massive. The day I walked on that set, I thought, if this doesn't win an Academy Award for production design,
sure,
and then it was like the other part of your brain goes, it's a horror movie, it'll never get nominated for
oh
anything,
no,
But it was like the detail, all the engraving, and all the pieces of glass, and then all the props that were there. I mean, they had a whole shogun, like the Japanese warrior outfit, and all the swords. And if I remember correctly, I think some of the swords were from the Highlander TV series, because that was also shot in Vancouver. It was the
really,
same prop guy, So there's all those little Easter eggs all over the house.
that's cool. Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's like you always kind of wonder when you watch those movies, like how much is it real? That house, you just think it's probably just little bits and pieces, but that's incredible that it was that intricate and that big and that actual like moving and
yeah, it was shot in at the time, which was the largest special effects soundstage in Canada, and they had basically built this entire freaking 2-story house. So when we're walking all the different levels and the different floors, that was all there in the basement with the chambers and everything. The only thing that didn't exist was when we're on the circle there. I should know the names of these things, but the Black Zodiac, all the gears that were in the middle of it that would come up and spin around and everything.
yeah.
Those things were visual effects. So like when we're on the ring at the end of the movie and all the ghosts are spinning around on this thing, we're spinning, but in the center all you have is this big ass hole that's about 10 feet deep and has big bright lights shining straight up at your face, has probably 3 or 4 of these massive fans blowing air up at you. And I remember jokingly, I said to Ken Kersinger, who was Jason in Freddy vs. Jason, on this movie, he was the stunt coordinator. And I remember saying to him, now, I felt dizzy a couple times spinning around this thing. What if I feel like I'm going to fall in this hole?
Yeah.
He says, well, fall back. So, in case you're wondering what the official stunt coordinator on a big $1 million film like
yeah.
that, just fall back. Nothing's gonna happen if you fall back. Well, that's good to know. Thanks. But so when you see the movie and you see all the gears flapping up and down and everything, none of that was there. It was just a big hole with us spinning around. But the greatest thing about that movie was the fact that the ghosts weren't visual effects. Was the fact that it was all practical effects makeup. And when Matthew Lillard comes around the corner and he sees a 6'6", 500-pound baby with puke all over himself holding a bloody axe, he's actually seeing that.
Yeah.
And it's like no acting involved. It's like, oh! And I think that's why to this day Matthew still remembers me between Scooby-Doo and 13 Ghosts.
Sure.
The Minor 49er and the Great Child. It's like I've scared him twice. And he still remembers me.
That's so cool.
And that was the funny thing. It was like it's like, I remember one day I walked by, I was leaving set, and I waved, and I said, see ya. And there was like that moment where it's like, I realized as I was saying it to him, it's like, wait a second, has he ever seen me?
Oh, like not in character and
Yeah,
like
it's like,
not with puke all over you?
Yeah, it's like either dressed up as Minor 49er under, all of this costume and makeup,
Yeah.
or, because like also when we did Scooby-Doo, I was 200 and something pounds lighter than I was on 13 Ghosts. So I had lost all that weight. I was 598 on 13 Ghosts. And so I had lost about 250 pounds. And then after I had lost all that weight, the first thing I got hired on was Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed. And the first thing they did was build a fat suit for me.
Oh, no shit.
So every day coming to work, it was like getting to see a reminder of how much weight I've lost.
Oh,
it's
wow.
sitting right there, and now I got to put it back on.
Yeah, you get to feel that on there. Isn't that something? Hey, I'm happy for your personal accomplishments, but we need you back in the suit,
Every day.
Wow.
Yeah, and my wife, she reminded me right at the beginning of that. She goes, just remember, you get to take it off at the end of each day.
Yes.
You didn't have that choice before.
Wow. Well, congrats on that. I mean, what a personal accomplishment, by the way. I mean, how long has that been that you...
Let's say it's probably been 20 years now.
Gotcha.
And I've probably have put on and taken off the same 100 probably 3 or 4 more times since then.
Sure.
COVID didn't help,
Oh, yeah.
And, being locked up in the house with snacks and TV didn't help.
Yeah.
But I think that problem you could probably spread amongst everybody.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and that's always the one thing I just, and not to be cynical about people that lose weight. You go, oh, that's great, but can you keep it off? And like, I mean, obviously, you got some fluctuation there, but you're doing great. So, that's awesome.
Yeah, I had a heart attack going on 2 years ago, and ever since I had that heart attack, we've gotten this meal service that provides salads for us. So different kinds of salads. So every Monday I get this delivery, this freezer bag outside my house, and it has salads for the week for my wife and I. So for going on 2 years now, I've had salad for dinner every night. And people say, well, you dropping the weight. It's not so much dropping the weight as maintaining the weight that I'm at healthily.
Sure.
Because when you're not living healthy, you're constantly either binging or you're starving yourself.
Yeah.
So it's like a constant up and down. Now it's just nice and even keel, and keeping some level of order. I still have my 50 grams. Sorry, metric.
That's
50 grams of chicken that I bake for each meal, and have my salad. And it's some things you just have to let go of, because after 35 years, when I go to set, I still get ribbed. It's like when it's time for lunch and I show up anywhere near the catering truck, you still get the people going, oh boy, look at how comes Ernst.
Yeah, Christ.
It's real funny.
Yeah, thanks, Dick. Or heard that a million times, right?
That stopped being funny about 30 years ago. And many times I'm like the guy up there getting vegetables and salad, maybe a little bit of rice,
Yeah.
And the skinny grip who's been in the corner holding something all
right.
morning has got 6 pounds of bacon on his
Exactly.
plate.
Yeah, a couple candy bars and.
Oh,
we got Brett Wagner's watching. Mr. Brett Wagner played Leatherface in the 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So we got a good family in here watching. And Mr. Sean Hyam, of course, he's got to be the one to stick out and says, I actually lost weight during COVID. I wasn't eating out all the time. Yeah, well, good for you, man. Some people took advantage of it, the isolation, and you got some home gym shit, but a lot of us didn't. That's for sure.
Yeah, there was a point before, what got me to my heaviest when I was 598 was in 2000, 2001. Those were a couple of really good years for me. And when you're successful and have what you don't realize is, issues.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you got a lot of money. Some people do a lot of drugs. Some people buy themselves fancy cars.
Mm-hmm.
I just ordered in a lot.
Oh, sure.
And, I'd have like 2 large pizzas for dinner and 2 large pizzas for lunch. And I'd have, then I'd order like a dinner for 4 Chinese food at like midnight, And it got to the point with the Domino's that jokingly I would call them, and they'd phone would ring, and this was the entire order. Ring, ring. Hello? Hey, it's Ernst. Yeah. Okay, I'll see you in a bit.
Yeah, we'll be right there.
It's like they knew what I wanted. They knew who it was that was calling. And I was like a VIP, so no matter when I called, I immediately went to the top of the pile. So I would get, like, the doors knocking in like 18 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like the guy's there with the hot pizzas still off the pan. And I'd get when I got married, my wife thought it was so hysterical that I would get birthday cards from Domino's. I would get Christmas cards from Domino's. And I said to her, yeah, well, that's because I'm helping them pay off their mortgage.
Well, no shit. Yeah.
Because everything now is computerized, they would tell me, like, do you realize that you've spent $12,000 with us this year? What? Those kind of phone calls.
Yeah.
That's when okay, maybe I should look at myself.
Yeah.
It's like I may not be getting drunk and stoned every night, but $12,000 in 1 year at Domino's. Okay, maybe that's a warning call.
Well, and all you're giving me is a Christmas card, you fuckers. Give me a free set of wings or something here.
No, in the Christmas card there was usually like a thing that almost every time I would order, I'd either get a free big bottle of soda, or I'd get
sure
twisty bread, or I'd get some cheese bread, or I'd get a free pizza. I was getting free stuff all the time. I was getting coupons all the time, and it started to like play with my ego. It was like, oh, I'm special.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Free twisty bread. It's like that was my version of famous. Like,
yeah.
I got no red carpets, but I get free twisty bread whenever I want. So that's the life, the true life of an actor. Getting excited when you get free twisty bread and a ball of soda.
Hey,
pizza.
That's all right, man. I'd take it too. Let's see here. I'm seeing a bunch of good questions here. I'm sorry for everybody that we're kind of missing here, and these are dating back to earlier in the conversation or anything. But when you get a chance, this is from Derek. Ask him what his favorite actor actress to work with was, and if they have any funny stories. Well, we can keep. I don't want to keep going back on your most funny favorite, whatever. But
well, as far as actor, I would say Christopher Walken. I got to spend 6 days.
Oh, cool.
With Christopher Walken. I shared a scene on a movie called Excess Baggage with Christopher Walken, Benicio del Toro, Alicia Silverstone, myself, and two other character actors, Adrian Dorval and Bill Croft. And we were basically three truckers sitting in an old-fashioned greasy spoon, and Alicia Silverstone is sitting at a table with her uncle, who is trying to rescue her because she's pretending to be kidnapped, and it's Christopher Walken. And Benicio del Toro is the person that he thinks has kidnapped her, but he hasn't really kidnapped her. She hid away in the car that he stole that was hers, and it's a long story. But so we're the guys sitting at the table eating breakfast. So, I mean, the greatest gig ever. I got to spend 6 days sitting at a table eating breakfast and watching Christopher Walken, Benicio del Toro, and Alicia Silverstone act all day, every day for 6 days as I ate breakfast.
Oh, I love it.
And then at the end of it, when she pretends that Christopher Walken has been abusing her, and she stands up as if he's been abusing her, and she's pointing at us, and we all get up to defend her, come to her rescue. And so just hanging out on set with Christopher Walken, getting a moment. I got to dance with him on set. We're standing around there waiting to set up the lights, and this was in an old diner, and they had an old jukebox, and we're looking at the different songs in the jukebox, and he goes, "Which one's your favorite, Ernst?" And I have to say, I can't do a Christopher Walken accent, and all my stories would be funnier if I could do his voice. He says, "What song do you like?" And I didn't recognize any. And he says, "Yeah, well, they're all classics." And he pointed one, and then he goes, "Unfortunately, I don't have a quarter." And then, like, out of nowhere, you just see crew member hands coming over our heads with quarters. It's like everyone wants to be the guy with the quarter.
Yeah, right.
So he puts the quarter in, and he presses play, And I thought, oh, cool. He's playing a song on set while they're setting up the lights. That's nice. And then he turns to me and goes, may I? And puts out his hand. So next thing you know, while they're setting up the lights for the next scene, here am I in a Greasy Spoon diner on the side of the room, waltzing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Walking on set. And at the end of that, we were getting ready to do the first take, and he says, as the second camera assistant is putting the marks on the ground, and he says to the camera assistant, no, on my shoe. And the guy, the young kid, he's basically a camera trainee. He's like, he doesn't want to, misunderstand Mr. Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna just stupidly put the tape on his shoe. So he puts it on the ground, and he's really putting it right around the edge of the shoe, so he makes sure that it's as close to the shoe as possible. And Christopher looks at him and he goes, now, English. It's not that hard of a language. On the shoe. And he's looking at him, and this young kid doesn't realize there's a punchline coming.
Yeah.
So it's play along with Mr. Walken's joke, because this is going somewhere. So he takes the tape, picks it up off the floor, puts it on the edge of his shoe, and now Christopher goes, now, you may ask, why tape on shoe? And he goes, this way, no matter where I walk, I'm on my mark.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
So it's just spending a week with those kind of moments, having him sit there. He's reading the New York Times one day, and he looks over at me, and he says, he's got these glasses on, he's reading, he pulls his glasses down, and he says, I'd like to make enough money in this world that I could buy everybody in the world a puppy. And I was and then that's it. And then he goes, not that I would. Nice feeling.
Oh, God, I love that guy. His humor is so good.
I leave set, and I walk down the stairs. I'm going to craft services, and I'm walking down the stairs, leaving this little diner, and he's walking up the stairs. And all I remember, like I said, I can't do his accent and the way he talks, but if I could, it's even funnier, believe me. And as I'm walking down the stairs, he looks up and he says, Ernst, the avocado dip is fucking amazing. And those are the things that just stick in your head. People always go, what was it like to work on this film or that film? It's you barely remember the actual footage.
Sure. Film. Yeah.
It's all the other stuff. And that's why it's so hard when you work on a movie. It's so hard to watch the movie, because as you're watching every scene appear in the film, you're like, oh, that was the day Bob was sick. Remember that? Oh, that egg salad we had the day before. And because all you're seeing are snippets of different days at the office.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I bet it's hard to even follow along with the plot of the movie when you're watching it, because you see something and all of a sudden you're just mind's off thinking about, the anecdote of what happened, at that moment or something. That's crazy.
Yeah, and that it probably takes me 3 or 4 viewings of something that I'm in to get in, actually to watch it as a moviegoer, and not think of myself as the actor, not know the other people, because nothing ruins a film more. Just imagine being married to an actor, especially one who's been doing this for 35 years. My wife, poor soul, we can't watch anything without me going, oh, there's Dave.
Yeah.
Oh, remember Frank? Oh, that was a great party. Look at that's Bill. And she goes, can we just watch the movie?
You're ruining the story, for God's sakes.
He's a detective. He's a bad guy.
Yeah.
He's driving an ambulance. I don't know their names. I don't need to know their names. When we first got married, these were all cute anecdotes. Once you've crossed 20 years of marriage.
Yeah. It's different now. Yeah.
Go again. Can I just watch the movie, please?
That's why you find where's she been? She's been sneaking off. I just know it. She goes, honestly, I'm just going to movie theaters without you so I can watch a movie for once.
Yeah, it's like when you notice that wait, the movies we had saved to watch on Netflix have a little red line on the bottom. What's
Yeah.
that all about? No, well, when you went to the store, it
Yeah.
timed out perfectly. That 45-minute episode timed out perfect. I could
Yeah.
watch it without you. And
Oh,
then
that's funny.
then we'll still watch the episode together as if she never watched it, but then she'll just be on her tablet while we're watching.
Yes, exactly. Nope, that happens here all the time too. My wife just can't. She watches so much media and stuff, and it's great. But sometimes we'll find a show that's like something we do together, and all of a sudden, every once in a while, I go, "You already just watched this episode." I couldn't help myself, but we'll watch it again together. I go, "No, because you've already seen it. You know, like I'll catch up on it on my own or something."
Well, that's the great thing about liking yourself and thinking you're the funniest, best thing ever, because I could watch things that I've been in forever on
Yeah.
a loop, 24 hours a day, you know, and to the point that, if I haven't worked in a few weeks, few months, few years, depending on what the cycle is at the point,
Mm-hmm.
because in this business, it's like a roller coaster. It's always up and down. You
Sure.
just never know how long you're going to be up and how long you're going to be down. But whenever it's down, my wife knows at some point I'm going over to the photo gallery at IMDb, and it's like, I used to do that, and I did that, and I was in that movie, and I worked with that actor, and nobody hires me anymore. And then usually within a few days of whenever that point reaches where I'm like looking at my photo gallery, or I'm pulling out my DVDs and watching my stuff,
Yeah.
that's usually when the phone rings and it's like, okay, you got a meeting or you got an audition or
Sure.
someone wants to offer you a role. you know, those are always the best calls. When
Oh yeah.
somebody says, "We have a film and we have a part for you." Is it what? You
Yeah.
don't have to audition.
That's
I don't
awesome.
have to send a self tape.
Right.
Oh my god!
There. You thought of me? All right. Like that's.
It's like when I did Smokin' Aces 2, and I played baby boy Tremor, and Joe Carnahan executive produced that because that was his baby, because he had directed the first Smokin' Aces, and so I had played baby boy Tremor, one of the Tremor brothers, in the second film, and so then he came around and he was shooting the A-Team, and I didn't. The casting director never brought me in, never saw me for a role, and I was disappointed because I thought I was going to get the chance to meet him, because I never got to meet him on set.
Mm-hmm.
And the film started filming, and I was like, no, well, whatever. And then all of a sudden, I get a call that says, Joe has a part he wants you to play, and this is the part, and this is who you are, and this is what you're going to do. And it's like, what? I'm getting an offer to roll in the A-Team without ever having to audition. Oh my God. It's what people always say, what are you going to do when you become famous? I'll tell you, when at a moment like that, when someone is telling you you're going to be in a Universal Studios picture film with auditioning, and
Yeah.
is basically thought of you for the part, you can't get any more famous than that in your head at that moment.
What a feeling.
And then getting to create the character and I come up with a little pencil thin mustache, and I decided to grow my hair long in the front so it was like sticking up like Kramer, and I decided I was going to wear these glasses, and I'm going to put these little librarian strings on them, the ones that the old ladies have that hang behind the neck so you can drop the glass. So I created this whole thing, and then I find out the studio that Joe was going to have the studio try to get the license to have me wear a Meatloaf Bat Out of Hell shirt, and I don't know if he knew, but that was a big deal for me, because that's basically how my wife and I came together. That's how we met, was through a film I did with Meatloaf. So I don't know if he knew that or whatever, but all of a sudden it's like, now not only did I not audition for this, now I'm getting to wear a Meatloaf shirt in this movie, and it just kept going, and then I get to I share my scene, and then you start, it's the ego starts building in your head, and you're like, and not only that, it's a movie, and it's called The A-Team, and it's about 4 guys, but when I'm on, it's all me. There's nobody else on the screen. It's just me. So it's called The A-Team, but really this is the Earth scene.
Yeah.
It's just me. And then it's Liam Neeson, and then it's back to me, and it's just me, and then it's Jessica Biel, and then it's me, and you start you start playing all these games in your head. It's like, I am a superstar because the movie's about 4 guys and none of them are in the scene with me. It's all about me. And that's when I had that moment in the cinema when I was sitting there. I was like,
Yeah.
wait a second. Freeze frame. This whole room is looking at a massive picture of my head. And that stuff happened. There were moments like that in 13 Ghosts. The difference with 13 Ghosts was the editing was so freaking frenetic. I don't think there was a scene that didn't cut within, a couple seconds of it being on screen. It was like the movie was shot, it was cut like a music video.
Sure.
And when I first saw that in the theater, it was like, I almost had a headache by the end of the film because at the premiere they had it on this massive screen and you're like right up close to the screen, and it was way too much. It's like your brain couldn't take in all the information that it was being hit with, because it's like you look over at this side of the screen and by the time you try to see over here, it's already switched to something else, and now you're back over. It wasn't until I saw it at home on a TV screen that the movie actually really hit.
Yeah.
And I think that the thing that would have helped that is if they had put in more backstory of all the different ghosts in the film.
Sure.
I think that would have slowed down a little bit of the crazy energy. It's just like, just give us a moment to breathe here.
Well, right. And, and they talked about doing a TV series on that for that reason, right?
Yeah, and that when I was mentioning about people emailing me about going to this show or that show, I'll tell you, I have not, in the last 2 years, I have not gotten as much email and as much mail over people wanting to know about that series. Back 2 years ago when it was just a meme that somebody had put together and said, "Dear Netflix, how's about a new series, 12 episodes, each episode," it's like, I remember there was a meme that somebody put together.
Yeah.
And the second that thing went out, I started getting people contacting me. You know anything?
Yeah. Yeah. Spill it.
And, and then there's a bunch of filmmakers who are putting together a pitch or a treatment, and then they're contacting Dark Castle or contacting Sony. And so we've had all these stories in the last year that have been out there, and I keep getting, "See, Ernst Harth, you played the great child. Could you please comment?" It's like, that was a movie I did 20-something years ago. I have no knowledge of anything, and this is what I will say. If they're going to do a show like that, it's the ghosts from the movie in 2001 that people want to see.
Mm-hmm.
It's those ghosts, those creatures, those characters in that movie. That's what people have been yearning for 21 years or whatever it is to see the backstories of those ghosts. So if they create a new series where it's just the backstory of 13 random ghosts that they've made for this new series, well, good, but that's just a new series then. Why, just call it something else.
Yeah.
People have been wanting to see the backstory of the Hammer and the Juggernaut and the Great Child and, all the different stories. There was that great Ghost Files edition that they put on the DVD extras that F. Murray Abraham narrates about the different backstory of each ghosts.
Yeah.
I think if they had put even a couple minutes of each backstory in the film, I think it would have just rounded out the film even more.
Sure.
Like right now, I always joke, now you have like 2 or 3 minutes, it feels like, probably only 20 seconds, but there's feels like 2 or 3 minutes of these slow, long, drawn out pan shots of empty halls.
Yeah.
Look, no ghosts. No ghosts. It's like, okay, you're running out of things to shoot here. The camera's just going back and forth.
Yeah, right. We get it.
Every time I see that, I'm like, can we just add some backstory here instead?
Yeah.
You don't need to pad it out with empty shots of hallways. You get the point. There's nobody left.
That's funny.
So yeah, even if you're in the film, you still have opinions. You still have, fans always send me their opinions on things or their theories on things or what this meant or what
Oh,
that
I
meant.
bet.
And they're always asking me what was the meaning of the axe and what was the meaning of the bib and what was the meaning of the puke. And I always say the meaning was, this is the bib that the costume department gave me to wear. I put it on. It had plastic latex puke that wasn't puke. It was actual like hard plastic. I took the bib off. The puke went with it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't real puke. Like on Trick or Treat, they put real puke. Oh my God! Playing the giant baby in Trick or Treat, and then later on, I'm supposed to show that I'm now completely drunk and I've puked all the stuff that I was eating and drinking earlier. So they made this puke out of potato leek soup and chunks of hot dog and 2 or 3 different types of beer, and it was like this mucky, and I think there was some oatmeal in there.
Oh, Christ!
Mucky looking pukey thing that just stank like high hell, and they poured it all down me. So when you see, I think on my binky that's hanging around my neck, there's like a chunk of wiener. So this is what was under my nose for half a day as I'm pretending to be passed out, and then I get a phone call 3 months later. They say they're bringing the giant baby back for some reshoots. They're going to do some extra scenes where the girls have turned to werewolves and they're now going to be attacking you. So they're going to be showing some extra gory footage of the wolves ripping your neck apart and stuff.
Yeah.
So they bring me back into the studio. We put this big ripped neck makeup on and everything. And then they go, and here's your wardrobe. Sorry. They go, here's your wardrobe. And they hand me the same outfit with the same bib,
the same smell.
It's been sitting there for 3 months while it's been hanging in a warehouse somewhere. And so now I've got the prosthetic and the smell of the glue, and now the smell of the fake blood, and I got all this stuff on my neck, and now on my chest I have 3-month-old leek soup and wieners and beer and whatever other shit was on there.
Oh my God.
So now I spend the entire day with these massive animatronic wolves ripping my neck apart. I'll tell you, I've done a lot of shit in my life, but I have never been so scared to have these massive animatronic wolves, opening and closing with these sharp fangs on my actual neck. There's puppeteers, and they've got little servo engine motors inside it, and they've got their little remote controls, and they're over there operating it. And if I remember, here's another little trivia piece. I think these were the same wolves that were in one of the underworlds that they had just shot in Vancouver, and they repainted them black or something. So they were the same wolves that were created for Underworld, and they just painted them black or something for Trick or Treat. So whoever doesn't know that, now that you do. So these are all things you pick up on while you're standing there for 2 hours getting your makeup done, listening to all these people around.
Exactly. Hey, so to stay on the topic with Trick or Treat, so Sean Shango says that so during the werewolf scene in Trick or Treat, did you actually see any of the transformations during your take, or was it all edited? And if you did see it, what was your reaction to such a random ass wild piece of that saga?
Okay, well, here's the thing with me. I didn't know anything other than what I read in the script, so I knew that shit was going to go down around the fire. And frustratingly for me, I'm supposed to be passed out drunk. Passed out drunk people have their eyes closed. So the first take, I put my head down and I go, and I got my eyes closed. And what you see in the movie, I think they're playing the Marilyn Manson, Sweet Dreams. I think they're playing in that scene. Well, when we shot the scene, they were playing Fever. That was what was playing on the playback in the studio.
Oh, okay.
So that's what when you see them dancing and everything, they're actually dancing to Fever.
That's cool.
To Sweet Dream. So I got my eyes closed and I'm playing dead, and I don't know what's going on. And at the end of and I don't really know the details of the scene other than what I read in the script. But these things always flesh themselves out once you're on set. In the script, people say they dance around the fire.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you're there for 2 days shooting a scene. That was in the script was like a piece of, the script was about this much information on the paper.
Sure.
So I'm sitting there and I got my eyes closed and I'm passed out. And they're playing the song Fever. I have no idea what's going on. I do not want to be the actor who gets caught peeking.
Yeah, right.
That guy. So the song ends. They go, and cut. I hear, and cut. And I open my eyes. And just as I lift my head, there's 2 naked breasts about 10 inches in front of my face, pointed directly at me. And I'm like, God damn it, nobody told me that was happening while my eyes were closed. Oh my God. I had no idea that the women were taking their clothes off while dancing around the thing.
Oh, Jesus.
So now, it was bad enough not knowing what was happening. Now I got to go back to closing my eyes.
When you know what's happening, though.
When I know what's happening. That was like being on 13 Ghosts and being on that wheel. And it's like they put the ghost that was completely 100% naked.
Yeah.
The chick with all the scars on her.
Yep.
She's directly across from the guy who's only in a thin pair of underwear. So it's like, don't look at the naked chick. Don't look at the naked chick. Oh,
damn it.
Damn it. So all the stuff that I missed, I was either with my eyes closed, so I didn't get to see any of the stuff. And then when they did the close-ups of all the transformations and everything, all of the the secondary actors left the scene, and unless you're like, many times they would bring me back because I just happened to be in the background, oh, and we need the big fat guy to go back there by the tree and pretend he's dead. There's nothing worse than when you're an actor, but at the same time you're still continuity for the film that you're on.
Yeah. I have a name, god damn it.
We need the giant baby to be back there.
Yeah.
So you got to go back there, and it's like the camera's barely going to see you, but in case the camera just happens to turn a certain way, they got to see me 20 feet away from where the action's happening back there. So the long answer is no. I didn't see any of the transformations. I didn't see any of the nudity. I didn't see any of the dancing. My eyes were closed. I was passed out, and I was very frustrated. Nobody told me there was nudity. God damn it.
Dude, you can start to kind of like, you'd be like, why didn't I sense that? Where's my spidey senses that boobs were that close by?
What's wrong with me?
I'm losing it.
I remember on that film, they brought Bryan Singer, who was the executive producer, the guy who had directed the X-Men movies and what have you.
Oh yeah.
And Michael Dougherty was his writing partner, and I think they had written the Superman movie that he did, and I think he wrote one of the X-Men movies maybe. So Bryan Singer came by, and they brought him over to me to introduce me. He goes, "Oh yeah, Ernst and I, we know each other. We go way back." And he continues on, and I'm thinking to myself, I've never met this guy. And then I hear him talking to someone else, and he mentions that he remembers. This is the actual sentence. I remember watching his audition in my bedroom.
Oh, no shit.
And then I think back, wait a second. My audition for the giant baby, I decided to go for it. So at the audition, I actually took my pants and shirt off, and I was sitting there in my underwear. Okay, now I got to stop thinking about this because TMI. I don't need to know Bryan Singer's in his bedroom watching me.
Yeah, exactly. You go, is that where the whereabouts of that tape is still located, or where the hell did that go to? He's got his personal archive.
And I remember when I did that audition, people would think, you're sitting there in a diaper pretending to be a baby. You got to audition for that?
Yeah.
You played the great child. You were one of the main ghosts in the 13 Ghosts, and now you got to... That's the way. I did 2 episodes of a show on Disney called So Weird. The first episode um, was called Boo, and it was with Henry Winkler, and he played a zombie who comes back on Halloween night to try to reconnect with his wife, who he loves.
Nice.
Because it's Halloween, he comes back from the dead,
Yeah.
and I played a zombie, a big guy zombie who walks by. And I'm basically one of the guys with Henry Winkler in the episode. And at one point, the main character goes to shake my hand, and my arm falls off because haha, I'm a zombie.
Sure.
But because of that, it was another one of those things where they offered me a role in an upcoming episode that was called Troll, where I would play there's an old lady who turns into a troll, and I was the troll version of the little old lady, and getting to do that. And I remember on that, sitting in the makeup in my trailer, my makeup, I had this nose that was like it basically looked like a dickhead. I mean, I basically had like a good 8-inch penis coming out, very bulbous penis coming out of my face.
Nice.
With like a big head on it, right? So I remember I'm sitting in the makeup trailer, and they're painting up the makeup, and one of the executives from Disney comes in the trailer, and this is how this goes. She goes, "Oh, great, you're doing."
Oh.
He goes, "Oh, that looks like." I'll be right back. I have to go call my husband.
Oh, Jesus.
And she turns around and leaves the trailer, and we all laugh because we all know what the nose hadn't been painted yet to be brown or whatever color the troll was, but we all remember what it looked like at that point. And it was just funny. It's like this may be a Disney show, but there's no hiding a dickhead. When you got a penis coming out of your face, there's no hiding that. So it's always nice to send people over to Disney to check out So Weird.
Yeah.
So if you ever wondered what I look like with an 8-inch penis nose?
There we go. I mean, it was on the mind, so I'm glad we covered that. Oh man, that's so funny. Yeah,
that was back when Disney was doing interesting stuff before they got stuck into the cookie cutter, 18 versions of the same show.
Right.
Yeah, they got a lot of stars out of that. They all turned into Ariana Grandes and all that kind of stuff. But the So Weird was like almost like X-Files for kids kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah, it sure has fallen into just some weird kind of just whatever they're trying to do each time. It's just like I don't know. Do you find it frustrating at all? And I try to always be careful with like the questions, I guess, because I don't try to get controversial or political and that type of stuff. But like, do you find it frustrating sometimes where it seems like a lot of these are just kind of like forcing in certain inclusive demographics and things like that? Where do you feel like that kind of almost like hinders like in like the storyline and things like that? Like that doesn't even make sense. Why do we got to put that in there? Like, does that
you're asking an old white guy who's barely worked for 3 years. So, the answer to that. All of a sudden, old white guys don't fit into your story.
Yeah, that's true.
So writing some. People need to start writing. That's the thing. Getting older, it's like I remember having a conversation with my wife and saying, "How come I used to play all these crazy characters, all of these monsters and trolls and ogres and all these different characters, these over-the-top characters in these movies?" And she says, "You're 54.
Yeah.
They can get a guy 24 or 34 to do those parts now."
Sure.
Because in my head, I'm still the same guy who played those characters.
Yeah.
There's no
I get
difference
that.
between me and the guy who played Miner 49 until I do a movie like Crawl Space, which I did a couple years ago with Henry Thomas, film for Paramount, and I spent a good portion of the film in a crawl space of a cabin, so I was on my hands and knees. And all of a sudden you feel every year of your 54 years when you're a 400-pound guy on his hands and knees in a crawl space running around doing fight scenes with So yeah, once again, if you ever wanted to see the great child in a crawl space
Yeah.
beating the crap out of Elliot from ET, and
Oh
you want
man.
to see a guy, I by the end of that movie, Henry Thomas and I both looked like Dalmatians. We were just two spotted animals covered in bruises from head to toe. We would at the end of the set, the the costume people would come out, the makeup people would come out with a tube of arnica, the rubbed A535 arnica, and we'd stand there basically in our underwear, and they would just rub down our entire body. It was like trying to get rid of some of these bruises.
Oh
And
jeez.
I had so many bruises on that film that the makeup department had to start painting in all the bruises because, for continuity's sake, I would have these massive bruises in I would have this big fight scene, and then the next day I'd show up and I'd have all these massive bruises on me. So now they have to take pictures, and now they have to match those
Oh
bruises for
yeah.
the rest of the film. So I was just one big spotted dick by the end of that film. But I'll tell you, I felt, why when my wife says why I'm not getting these creature characters anymore, I'll tell
Yeah.
you, I felt why on
Oh,
that film.
jeez.
And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still getting physio on my shoulder, and it's been like what 2-3 years now since I did that film,
Oh
because that was when you go from 0 to 60 in these things, as an actor, they just throw you into these things.
yeah.
You don't, you know, I'm not Tom Cruise, so I don't have 2.5 years of build up to the next
Sure.
production.
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
not in the gym for 2.5 years. I usually got like a week and a half notice that I've been hired on something, and you better show up in 2 weeks to do this thing.
Right.
So there's not much preparation. You're just throwing yourself into it, which I always like to think the character had no preparation either. The character just
Sure.
got thrown into this situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, it plays better. It plays more real than I'm getting the crap beat out of me. But you you can tell, and I'll just say that I'm still waiting for the call for Crawl Space 2.
Yes. Moose says that his knees hurt just thinking about it.
Yes, when you get to the point where you have injuries from sneezing, you have injury, you pull your shoulder out from scratching your hair.
Oh yeah.
You go to the fridge, and all of a sudden you can't open the fridge. You're like, when did I become so weak that I can't open the fridge anymore? And you're like calling your wife, honey, can you come open? I can't. And then she's just like, wow, it's just the fridge. What's
Yeah.
wrong with you? It's crazy how when we were in our 20s, or even when you were teens, you just in the morning you'd run out the door and you're just going crazy, jumping, running, diving off and
Right.
stuff, doing
Just
all crazy
invincible.
stuff, coming home. And especially in the summer, even the next day, just rinse and repeat and go do the same thing.
Oh yeah.
Now, I spend a day on set, and then I spend the next week and a half recuperating at home.
Just icing
So,
it, icing it down.
exactly.
So did I read something? Did you used to wrestle at one point too?
Yeah, this comes up in every interview I do.
Oh, all right. Then we'll skip it.
No, because then I know there's people watching that are wondering the same thing, and I was involved with wrestling as far as I wrestled in high school. I was
Okay.
a wrestler in high school, and then afterwards, after high school, I helped out with a wrestling league, one of the small town territories, and I was like a ring boy, and I would help put the ring together and everything. And so doing that and spending time with wrestlers and hanging out on the road and stuff, I got to do a lot of thinking, and I started creating a character that I would have been if I had ever gotten to be a wrestler.
Yeah.
And so uh, over the years, I played this character to friends, and I've played this character at parties and jokingly as if this was a real character that existed. And so then when I did the Fairley Brothers film Say It Isn't So with Chris Klein and Heather Graham, I remember having an interview with the publicist, and he asked me, and in telling him these stories, I told him that I had been involved with wrestling, which was true,
Mhm.
and I had this character, the Bible Thumper, that I played, and the problem is I may have left out the fact that I didn't actually wrestle as this character.
Sure.
It was a character that I had created, and in my mind, I had been this character. But when you're young in this career, you not necessarily embellish. You just might leave a few things out here and
Yeah,
there.
take some chances.
And it was a good story until next thing you know, it's in the Say It Isn't So press kit that I'm a former wrestler that traveled the highways and byways of small town Canada, and bing bang boom, next thing you know, that press kit's on the internet. Next thing you know, it's out there, and once it's on the internet, it has a life of its own.
Oh,
so
yeah.
now I usually just go, yeah, I used to wrestle.
Yeah.
Because I did used to wrestle in high school, but the character I had created, still to this day, I don't know if you're a wrestling fan, but to this day, I've never seen this character, and I created this character 40 years ago, so if anybody comes up with it now, it's me. And the character's name was the Bible Thumper. He had a cross on his head, so he had like a little mohawk this way, and then he had a mohawk from ear to ear that
Yes.
created like a cross. I wore a black robe with a little white collar, and I had a big wooden cross around my neck. And so my finishing move was, at the end of the match, when I'd pin the guy, I would then, out of my pocket, I would take a little New Testament, and I would start shoving the New Testament down his throat. And that was my finishing move. And my character was the Bible Thumper, and I thought that was the most non-PC. And in the last 9 years, as the right Christo-fascist part of the population has grown, I have thought, boy, that character would be a heel for sure.
Oh,
would
yeah.
be the worst bad guy now. And to this day, I wish that I was 30 years younger and in better shape, that I could actually do that now.
Yeah.
It would fit in. But yeah, that's the long answer. I wasn't technically a professional wrestler, but I did have a character, and and I will say there's a really good on Tubi. And if you're a fan of horror, especially indie horror, you know of Tubi. Everybody knows.
Oh,
it.
yeah.
It's like if you're not watching films on Tubi, then you're not a real horror fan, because these people are like, oh yes, I love horror. I have a subscription to Shudder.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but have you seen Tubi? It's like, people are just pulling shit out of their brains and putting it on Tubi.
Right. Oh, yeah.
It's not about budget. It's about ideas. It's about, just telling stories and sharing crazy shit. But a wrestling documentary, a really good wrestling documentary, and you'll see my name in the special thanks, but that's only because I helped. One of the actors I had worked with in the past remembered this Bible Thumper character, and when he was directing this film about wrestling in the 80s and in the 70s, he wanted to interview me about Bible Thumper. And it's one of those things like, oh cool, I would love to be interviewed for your movie, but the Bible Thumper never truly really existed. It was more in my head, and I'll talk to you. And suffice to say, I'm not in the documentary, but it's a really good documentary on Tubi. It's called 350 Days, and it's got one of the biggest casts of wrestlers from the 70s and 80s, of all the wrestlers you can imagine that wrestled, especially in the indie wrestling and in the territories. And my friend Fulvio directed it, and it's called 350 Days because back then that's how many days they spent on the road.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So they would only see their family for like 2 weeks a year, kind of thing. So yeah, if you're into wrestling, that's a really good documentary.
That's awesome.
Like I said, you'll see my name in the special thanks, but not because I was a wrestler. Just wanted to get that out there.
Got it.
It's a good documentary. I like sharing good stuff.
Yeah. No, I appreciate the answer. I just, my only reason with asking that was just like looking at how much you've done. I'm like, God, when did this guy fit time into your career? And also like be like a pro wrestler or something on the side. So that makes sense, man. That's awesome.
Well, the Bible Thumper, my stories of the Bible Thumper got me the episode of Harsh Realm where I played he's like a ultimate fighter, like a WWF UFC type fighter,
Sure.
because I had told my stories of the Bible Thumper to Chris Carter when I worked on the X-Files, and then when it came time for Harsh Realm, he went, "Hey, I know a guy who would be a perfect wrestler for this, and he's a big guy." So I got that role, and that was awesome because we played these big professional wrestler type guys, but it was actually zip fights. They had zip files of us that were digitized and reduced into digital files that would appear.
Huh.
So these digital files would actually fight in this little 8-foot octagon, while the actual wrestlers are standing outside cheering on the digital zip fighters that are fighting. And so when we come out into this wrestling ring, we come out into the arena, we have these big silver cages, and inside is our little digital versions of ourselves wanting to get out, and it's banging away, and we put the thing down and we bang the top, and the top opens up, and these two digital versions of ourselves. So we had to wear all the mocap, all the motion capture stuff that we had to shoot. They built like a full-size octagon, and they had me and the other guy, Larry Lamb, who is a top-notch martial artist stuntman. And so we had the two of us fighting. We had to do all this stuff, diving off the top rope and fighting all that stuff. But while we're wearing all these little ping pong balls on us and everything.
Yeah.
So they shot that, and then they reduced it and made little digital mini-me's of us. And then we came on set, and I had these big yellow leotards, and that's Harsh Realm. The episode is Inga Fossa. If you're interested, somebody has it up on YouTube, and it's hilarious. It's like this goes back to the early 2000s, and yet it's all about zip files and having these little digital versions of ourselves wrestle. It's like AI before AI. It's like
right.
It's so funny to watch yourself cheering on yourself. So that was another thing that I got because of my Bible Thumper character. So it's come to help me over the years. So yeah, I'm sorry, Chris. I didn't lie to you. I had a character named the Bible Thumper, and he did exist. And thank you for giving me Harsh Realm.
Yeah.
I hope you didn't think that I was I'm sorry. I know I should have not played along, but
whatever.
Actors do that kind of stuff.
Hey.
Like, we have a role, but you ride a horse. Can you ride a horse? Of course I can ride a horse.
Exactly.
I have 2 days to learn how to.
That's like everybody ever, right? You're embellishing that a little bit. Yeah, sure, I can do that. We'll figure it out.
It's like, well, you don't have your special class for your welding ticket here, but are you sure you can do this?
Yeah,
sure,
yeah.
I can do this. Everybody does. Everybody says they can do something that they've seen somebody else
exactly.
do, or they know someone else, and I'll figure it out. I can do it. Hire me, because really, people just want to be hired.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
Yeah, except in my business, it's the only place where you can go, and they go, you have the experience, and you've got like 30 years experience here. You're one of the top guys for this position, but I don't like your hair. Your mustache is weird, and I think you're a little too fat. So thanks a lot. It's the. That stuff is the stuff they have to pretend they don't do in the real world, because you can get in trouble. But in this business, that's part of the business. It's like, you've got all this experience. It's like, I used to joke, it's like applying for a job as an accountant, and they're like, I see that you've worked at this company for 40 years, but how do we know you know how to operate a pencil? You're constantly having to prove yourself and start from the beginning. You think, the movie stars, the films that they do, their previous films, it builds to something.
Yeah.
As a character actor, you start from scratch with the next project.
Completely different.
They don't see the actor; they see the character.
Yeah.
Like when you're working on Scooby-Doo, and Freddie Prinze is walking over and he's poking your stomach while you're standing there, and he's just like poking your stomach, and you're like, hello, there's someone in here.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Because they just see Miner 49er and they've gotten to know the character, and they're living in a cartoon world, so there's nothing stopping them. You would never walk up to another human being and just start poking their stomach.
I hope not.
No, exactly. But because they don't see you as the actor, so people know me as my characters more than they know me as they know me as the great child, what always throws me is when they know me from something that it's like, I remember going to get some frozen foods at the store, and I'm waiting there as the lady is pulling out some carrots and some sausages and stuff from the freezer, and she turns around and she goes, "Oh my God, Sloth!" And it's like, when it's something that you did like 10 years ago or older,
Yeah.
it's like, it's not in my brain. So I have no idea half the time what somebody is talking about. Because, people in the real world just don't all of a sudden look at you and go, "Sloth."
Yeah, right. Like, how rude.
Like, "Oh, you mean the character I played on Supernatural? Wow, that was like long time ago." It always just, when those things come out of the blue, is what always throws me. It's like,
Sure.
I don't look anything like. I don't think I looked anything like the character did. It's like I want, because I'm just me. I only ever see me. There's nothing special about me. I'm just a guy. But people remember characters, and if you're a fan of Supernatural, then you know everything about Supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed. Shows, if you're, like I said earlier, if you're a fan of a certain horror movie, you know everything.
Yep.
About, you probably know everything there is to do with Leatherface and the chainsaw movies.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's just immortalized, those people. So
I just wanted to say, I was thinking about this when we talked earlier, in the time that I after I left you, with the movie. Like, what year did the first chainsaw movie come out?
that came out in '74.
You can never relive what it was like to see that movie in '74.
Oh, sure.
To now, no matter how much you think you can. And people never understand, like, movies like The Exorcist or that movie or Evil Dead. Those things left such a mark on people when those movies came out, because, I mean, it wasn't left field. It was a field on the other side of town.
Mm-hmm.
It came out of it's like, that stuff that didn't happen, and nobody made movies like the
Right.
Chainsaw film, and the quality of it didn't matter, because all movies, especially if you went to the drive-in, all movies looked like that back then.
Sure.
Sure, you can shoot a movie in 8K off your phone now, and it's crystal clear and everything. But part of what made that movie was how it looked, the aesthetic.
Absolutely.
Of it. The same with Evil Dead. And I think coming at those movies now, like a young person saying, "I'm going to go back," there's been too much stuff in between. That's what I was thinking about earlier. Like, if that came out in '74, the amount of horror movies and the amount of watered down versions of that type of movie, and everything that has come out, and all the special effects and all the visual effects and everything that's come out since then, you're never going to relive the initial reaction to those movies, to that audience at that time.
Yeah.
And I know they keep restarting the Chainsaw franchise, and it seems like with every generation there's a new version of it. They just do another one on Netflix not that long ago.
Yeah, a couple of years ago.
And the other one there, I remember the one with, all I just remember is Jessica Biel in a white T-shirt.
Yep.
Was that the 2000?
2003. Yep, that was the remake one.
Yeah, I was so hung up when I worked with her. There's nothing I hate more than when a director says, "Okay, we're going to improvise," because it's like, excuse me, I came to work with lines in my head.
Yeah.
And now you're telling me that I have to make stuff up. I'm not the writer. I don't know how to be funny. So, Joe Carnahan, the camera is coming down my stomach and he's moving up on my character, and I'm supposed to just be And so Jessica Biel walks out of the room on the A-team, her and her two soldier guys. They walk out of the interrogation that she's just done with me. And there's a nurse who's holding ice on my head. And I just remember looking at the nurse and going, wow, she looks just like that chick from the Chainsaw Man.
It is.
But it's like, when am I going to have the opportunity to say anything about it? You know?
Yeah.
I'm pretty damn certain it's not going to end up in the movie, but you know, I'm still gonna have my little moment. And you know, of course, you know, the crew laughs and funny. Okay, now let's do it again. This time, don't mention the chainsaw movie.
Yeah.
And the lady here is not Jessica Biel. She's in the military. So it just got me thinking about, you know, with all the chainsaw stuff there.
Sure.
You know, an audience now watching that movie versus the audience that watched it then. And then I think, well, it's no different. It's all of these movies. Like the audience that saw 13 Ghosts when it came out versus now the kids looking back on that movie like stupid. It's all the stupid makeup. What's it? Because they've seen so much visual effects since now. It's like,
yeah.
You know, I did a movie for MTV, Carmen Electra. It was called Monster Island, which is on Tubi as well, and you should check it out. It's directed by Jack Perez.
Shout out to Tubi.
That's where all the good movies are. Adam West played the mad scientist in that film. And
awesome.
The whole movie is an homage to the creature features from the 50s, and so it has all the stop motion animation, the Ray Harryhausen type animation, so much so that the mad scientist played by Adam West is called Dr. Harryhausen.
Okay.
As an homage to him. And so you have all these special. I have a scene. I'm in a bulldozer, and I have a big fight scene with a 150-foot praying mantis while I'm in a bulldozer. So the bulldozer, and it's all done with stop motion animation. So there's like a miniature version of me that's of a puppet sitting inside the thing, inside the bulldozer, and then there's the praying mantis, and you see me, and it cuts back to the real me, and cuts back to the little mini me, and it was so fun to be in a movie where it was all the stop motion and it was all the practical effects and it was all like the 50s type movies. And then because it was being produced by MTV, it went on MTV and it went directly to an audience that doesn't get the joke.
Sure.
You know, it's like,
oh yeah. So
now you just have a bunch of teenagers going, this movie's stupid. All
the
effects are stupid. You can clearly tell that's a plastic bug, you know, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, this movie is brilliant. You people are, you know, the fact that Carmen Electra's in the lead is what's throwing people off.
Yeah.
Because they're like, it's a Carmen Electra film. You got to look past that. That's funny. When we started shooting that film, it was like, the premise of the film is there's a concert that's being held. MTV's holding this concert in the Bermuda Triangle on this island, and a bunch of crazy crap goes down. So at the beginning, when we started shooting in the pre-production, the word got back to us that it was going to be Christina Aguilera. She's going to be the performer who's the special guest at this party, at this concert. And we're like, oh, wow, we're going to get to be in a movie with Christina Aguilera. That's cool. So then production is still ramping up, and there's been more meetings, more audition, more stuff. Everything's getting closer and closer. And we've actually started shooting, and now word comes back, okay, it's not Christina Aguilera. It's going to be Lil' Kim. So, okay, we jumped down a few levels. Okay, so then, you know, there's more hush talk in the background of the studio, and you hear all this stuff and everything. And they're like, who's going to be with Lil' Kim? Who's going to be Lil' Kim?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they come back and they go, it's not going to be Lil' Kim anymore.
Oh no.
It's going to be Carmen Electra.
Oh.
And I just remember everybody going, does she sing?
Yeah. Does she?
Carmen Electra? Does she sing? I know she dances. Well, you know, dances.
Yeah.
Poleless dancing. And yeah, she sings, and they recorded a song, and she's performing the song in the thing.
Oh no shit!
And I thought, boy, if they don't get Carmen Electra, who's next? The person that came 9th in American Idol?
Right?
I mean,
yeah, like
we just kept
exactly.
dropping down to Christina Aguilera. But I recommend that if anybody's a fan of the creature features from the 50s and likes the stop motion animation type stuff and loves Adam West, then I recommend you check out Monster Island on Tubi.
That's cool.
I play 8-Ball, Carmen Electra's bodyguard, and let's just say when she gets taken away by the flying ant, I try to protect her, and I end up getting taken away too, and then all hilarity ensues.
That's awesome. I gotta see it.
The whole, remember that movie? What was the movie about the shark movie? And there was the not Sharknado.
Okay. Back
when they started making those films with the sharks, and there was the one with the I don't know. Jack Perez directed some of those type movies, and so it's that kind of humor that's in this film. And I know I start rambling. I'm sorry,
dude. No, I love it.
Tie me up.
I'm like looking. I'm like shit. Like we've been almost like do this for 2 hours. I'm like I feel like we could do like 10 episodes. You have got the coolest stories.
You said to me earlier when you said no, it's not really about questions. We just like nice to start a conversation and we'll see where it goes. And I thought, boy, that's dangerous.
Yeah, careful what you.
I'll just be rambling till tomorrow. So.
Oh, dude,
like I said, after 35 years, a lot of shit has happened.
Well, exactly.
And these podcasts give me the opportunity to get it out.
It's awesome. It's just like, it just the takeaways just for myself, selfishly, just some of these cool fucking stories, I mean, just I'm just never gonna stop thinking about the tits 10 inches in front of your face, on set, just like what a thing for.
That doesn't happen at work.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Excuse me, I didn't get this memo. Nobody told me this would be here.
Oh, shit.
I would have faked my eyes being closed a little better if I had known.
Right. Oh. Well, Ernst, this has been a hell of a time, man. If you're looking for, you got any other time, I'd love to have you back on. This is great.
Sounds good.
All right, man. Well, like I said, we're going to put links up to how we get in contact with you. We're going to start putting a campaign to get you out into the local Canadian cons as they come around, because I think it's a goddamn travesty that you're not there. But at least we know the fans of what you do can reach out to you. You've got autographs. They can send in things to sign. I think that's really cool that you're willing to do that. So I definitely want to be able to help facilitate people finding you and doing that.
If I can't get to people, then I'll have them come to me, and that's why I've been offering the photos, and I've got about 9 photos that I had actually made for the convention. So I have 9 8x10s that are professionally made, and then I have about 21 other ones that are custom. If there's a special project I worked on or whatever, I have about 21 other 8x10s that I can get signed for you. And if you have any posters or DVDs or books or movies or whatever you want signed, go to my Facebook page, and right at the top, pinned to the top, is all the information about the photos and my address for taking mail-ins.
Awesome. Well, I got to get a couple of Ernst pieces around here then. So you better believe it, man. That's so cool. So, again, I fucking appreciate the hell out of you for doing this. This was so much fun.
Yeah, no problem. And I'm glad that your show was given to me, and that I was able to reach out to you, because, I just like hooking up with people and talking and letting people know I exist and having somewhere for them that can hear my stories.
Absolutely. And shout out to the people that recommended me. I just that to me was like just crazy, where you're like, yeah, people said like me, what? Like, okay, let's do it, man.
Because so many people, they'll say, you should do this podcast, or you should do this podcast, but nothing ever comes of those comments. So then I finally just decided, okay, everyone who's ever told me about a podcast, here's your time for you to get the information to me so that I can get in touch with these people. And I've got an interview every day now for the next week. So
Excellent.
yeah,
That's great, man.
it's an ever growing community of people. I'm sorry, world. The people who know me is getting larger slowly, but for sure it's happening. And now they know, hey, that's the Ernst Harth, not that's the great child, or that's that guy I went to school with, I think.
All right, brother. Well, again, thank you so much, and I'd love to do this again. So.
Yeah, sounds good. Have a good one.
All right, man. See ya.
Talk to you later.
All right. Holy fuck, that was awesome. I can't believe we had him on for 2 fucking hours. Dope as shit. So everybody go fucking hit that dude up. Again, if you don't know how to get in touch with him, check out, I'll put this in the links and bullshit all in the YouTube page, all that. See Ernst motherfucking Harth was on the Space Corps podcast. How fucking dope. Unbelievable. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, Half Moon Designs right now. Use promo code Space Corps at checkout to get 10% off your entire order. Get yourself that burrito wallet, baby, or some of that dope-ass horror fucking top-notch, high-quality, beautiful products that the Queen Bee and McDonald does. You know how it go. And while you're at it, get that Space Corps podcast merch, baby. Support the show. Let me grow this thing, man. I can't believe I just had fucking Ernst on. That was so dope. So, motherfuckers, this is the end of the Space Corps podcast, episode 35. I hope y'all have yourself a lovely, lovely weekend. You know I'm coming to you live every Friday night, 9:30 p.m. Central, live on the Facebook pages. So if you want to be a part of this kind of social hour or hours, come hop in, get in on these comments. Otherwise, if you can't, if it don't work out with your schedule, it's fine. Pop it up on that fucking YouTube page afterwards. You can watch it at your disposal whenever it happens. So until then, motherfuckers, it's your boy Stoney, live from the TCM Museum of Minnesota. I'm out, bitch. Good night, everybody.
In the vast expanse where the cosmos sighs, drifts an ancient tale as old as the skies. A figure from stories now mythified, Space Corps goes orbiting by. He once roamed planets, oh far and wide, but now he floats where the starships fly. No more breath in his chest, yet can't be denied the space cadet who died. Oh, oh, Space Corps, in the void you glide, a spectral waltz in the galaxy's tide, floating free like a cosmic guide. Space Corps goes orbiting by. Galaxies turn while he haunts with pride. No anchor to worlds, just space to bide. Gliding through stardust, no need to hide. This wanderer who never cried. In weightless silence where time collides, he drifts in dreams so amplified. Mysterious tales on mystic rides, Space Corps haunt so dignified. Oh, oh, Space Corps, in the void you glide, a spectral waltz in the galaxy's tide, floating free like a cosmic guide. Space Corps goes orbiting by. Galaxies turn while he haunts with pride. A spectral waltz in the galaxy's tide, floating free like a cosmic guide. Space Corps goes orbiting by.